Welcome, ladies. Bruchot habaot to our Hanukkah shiur. It's our Tefillah series, but we are giving an extra shiur today in honor of Hanukkah. So we're postponing our shiur on the Amidah, on the Shemona Esrei, till next week. And Bezrat Hashem today should be it's a big day. It's Hanukkah. I'm looking in front of my Menorah here. That's lit, and today is the fourth night of Hanukkah. Some of you haven't lit yet. Here in Eretz Yisrael, we lit. And Baruch Hashem, it's a very, very special time. So I felt like, we should at least have a class mentioning Hanukkah and talking about the significance and maybe speaking a little bit about the words inside, so we have an understanding of what Hanukkah is all about. A lot of things. I hope we get through most of them. If not, we'll have to do a second shiur on Hanukkah because there's just so much to share. This shiur is dedicated to Leilu Nishmat Devorah Bat Adel, Teh Nishmata Began Eden. It should be a zchut for her family, her children, her husband, her entire mishpacha. She should be Melatet Yosher. It should be also refuah shlema for all the cholim, the shluchat Chabad. Chabad should have refuah shlema henya bat bracha devor alea. She should have refuat hanefesh, refuat haguf, should be yeshuot for everybody here. Shimon ben Rivka, Rivka bat Chasiba, Alter Shimon ben Miriam, Bracha bat Henya Ada bat Devora, Mayam bat Devora Adasa, Betoch Shar Chole Amo Yisrael, yeshuot, besorot tovot for everyone. It should be a zchut. Hashem Sabatai Tiftach v'yagid tilatecha. I should have a zchut to be able to share with you all the deep thoughts that I have been hearing. Not all, I can't do all, but some of the thoughts, some of the ideas that I've been learning. Bezrat Hashem, Bezrat Hashem. So where are we going to start? So Hanukkah, we know, is a very, very special time. It is a time of Nissim. It is a time of the Hasha'at Shechina through the lights. Let's talk about the lights for a minute. We know that Hanukkah, there's two Nissim. One is we're publicizing the miracle of the milchama that was fought with the Chashmonaim, right? Otherwise known as the Maccabim, the family, either they were called Chashmonai or they were a Chashuva family from Chashmonai, which I think is here near us in Bet Shemesh. It's in Modi'in, and there was a milchama, there was a war, but it wasn't a regular war. It was this family of men, who were Kohanim, and they didn't necessarily have weapons. They didn't necessarily have, the ability and the tools and the knowledge, understanding of how to fight a war. But yet, they went out, the Kiddush Hashem, Masru et Nafsham, their Mesiras Nefesh, they gave over their, entire being just to be Kadeshim Shemaim, because they saw there was the rulership of the Yevanim for 52 years. They were ruling over them, and what were they doing? The whole essence of Yavan was to strip away from the inner, the pnimiyut, right? The connection to the ruchniyut, the spirituality, the inner aspect of Torah and mitzvos, and doing it in a very snide way. Not saying no, we don't want you to learn it, but no, we don't want you to learn it because the body is more important, the physical is more important, and maybe you should be involved more in Hellenism, which was going on at the time. And we know that there were a group of people, unfortunately, that were mityavnim. They became like the Greeks. There's no other nation that ruled over the Jews that were like, that we were like them. It says mityavnim, it's to become like the Yavanim. We don't have mitromaim, mitedomim, Ishmaelim. We don't have that because they didn't necessarily convert, but they took upon their practices, and their practices were all into the body, into the physical, into the outer culture. Interestingly enough, we're told that Yavan comes from Yefet. The rulership of Yavan, if we look at the letters, Yavan is Yud and a Vav and a Nun, all going down and further down. So when the world was created, it says there was Tohu Vavo v'choshech, right? Al pnei haaretz, there was darkness. Each one of those that are mentioned in the beginning of Bereshit are representative of the galuyot that we went through, the exiles that we went, the rulership that had been over us. And Yavan was representative of the choshech, interestingly enough. And when do we celebrate Hanukkah? But in the darkest times of the year, right? We are in the darkest month, in the time where there's least day and more night, more darkness, more choshech. And we're lighting our little Chanukiah. And what is this Chanukiah representative of? Tremendous awe. Now, the awe that we're lighting, it's not a big awe. Why don't we go when we put out torches? Why don't we go and have flashing lights like they have? Their Chag is called Chag, the holiday of lights. They actually took it from us. We don't need all that. There's a guy actually that came into a man's house, a Jewish man's house, and he said, listen, I have all my lights out there, but I see your little Chanukiah, the little one that you put so small, and it's so low. And I'm like, wow, there's so much light, much more than all these lights that I have lighting up my garden. This was a guy saying this to a Jew. And this is what we have. The concept of this light is not a physical light. It's a light that Hashem saved for the future, for the Or Ganuz. The Or Ganuz, the hidden light, the light that's representative of something much deeper, ruchniistic light, a light that was reserved for tzaddikim latid lavo. And there was a glimpse of it in this world. For 36 hours, Hashem allowed Adam HaRishon and Chava to be able to connect to this light. And for 36 hours, we had this Or Ganuz, and then Hashem preserved it and left it. And guess what? We have a chance to tap into the 36 hours with our 36 candles, which is the total number of candles that we light on Chanuka. And that's amazing. Like, we have this opportunity to connect to this Or Ganuz. So when we're lighting a menorah, we all know, I'm sure you all have seen, we've been circulating that to sit by the menorah, to daven by the menorah, because it's tremendous light in the menorah. There's not a physical light. There's some sort of a spiritual light. And what we're going to talk about today is like, what is that light? 36 also is the Lamed Vav Tzadikim, the 36 hidden Tzadikim that we have in this world. Also, we have that as 36. And there are other references to 36, which are not coming to my mind right now because there's so much I want to share, but B'ezrat Hashem it'll come. And there's so much of this spiritual light. Why? Because what was Chanukah all about? And really, there's a remes to Chanukah, not only in Bereshit, there's also a remes to it in Bahalotcha. When Aharon wanted to offer the korbanot, he said he'll wait till everybody brings, when they were dedicating the Mishkan, and then he'll bring, and then he realized that all the Nissim brought everything, and there was nothing for him to bring. It says, Chalsha da'ato, his spirit left him, so to speak. He was upset. He was so distraught. I want to bring something for the Mishkan. Hashem said, don't worry. Shelcha gdola mishelahem, you will have an opportunity to have much more than they did. And what was that? Hashem rewarded him with Behalotcha et hanerot, when you go up to light the menorah. Now the Mefarshim explained there's not just the menorah that he lit in the Mishkan. It says that for generations that his family will continue lighting. The Kohanim will light the menorah in the Mishkan, the Bet HaMikdash in the future. Not only then, in the exiles, in time when the Bnei Israel are going to be oppressed, we are also going to continue to light the menorah. It says Latid lavo, ledorot, for generations this menorah will be lit. And Chanukah is a time of rededication. Chanukah means rededication. We're rededicating the Mishkan from the Tum'ah of the Goyim, the Tum'ah of Yavan. What did Yavan want to do? They wanted to infuse this Tum'ah into our essence. And they wanted us to forget, Lashkicham Toratecha, we're going to see in the Hanissim, to forget about the Torah. What do you need it for? Interestingly enough, Lashkicham Toratecha is Lashon backwards, Choshech. Shichecha is like choshech, right? The darkness is to make us forget, to look like it's not there, even though it exists. They didn't allow us, it says, to keep Shabbat. They didn't allow us to keep Brit Milah. They didn't allow us to keep Rosh Chodesh. What are all those things? Those are the connectors. Those are the things that allowed us to be able to have a connection to the Borei Olam, and we're going to see this in the words of the Hanissim. Maybe we should get into it because there's just so much, but I still want to tell you just a little bit the rededication. So what's the rededication? Chanukah. Chanukah means, it says Chanukah Hey, right? They encamped, some say they rested, really that's Nachu, so changing the wording, right? The backwards, Chanu and Nachu is the same, but Chanu means they encamped on the 25th, because that's when they went into the Beit HaMikdash. And there was Tum'ah. All the Tum'ah was there. How are they able to even light a menorah? We're going to see in the Psukim here, in the words here of the Tefillah, not the Psukim, the words of the Tefillah, Dan Sheikh Neset Gdolat set up for us that they didn't light it necessarily inside, but they were able to find a Pach Shemen and rededicate it and be able to have this light, to light the menorah. But the Shemen was only enough to light when? To light for one night. And that's why we have another miracle of the Shemen. So there's the war, which was like people that have no idea going to fight an army with pilim, which is like tanks, elephants in those days, and going out to just battle with them and not knowing that they're going to even survive, but they knew that they have to what? They have to preserve the inner aspect, the tahara, the purity of Am Yisrael. And that's the rededication. So that's the war. And the second is the oil, that the oil lasted for 8 days. And interestingly enough, when we're looking at the nerot, we're not only looking and davening and asking, we're also supposed to be lefarsim et hanes. Why? Lehodot, lehalel. We're supposed to have such gratitude and recognize that all the good that Hashem has done for us. Not only in those days, in these days too, we have miracles that Hashem performs for us. And during this time, we have to reflect upon that. What is the candle representative of? The candle is representative of the neshama of a person. Ner stands for nefesh ruach. It says ki ner Hashem nishmat adam. The candle of Hashem is the neshama of a person, the nefesh, the ruach, the aspects of spirituality of the soul. And when we're lighting a candle, we're lighting our own soul. We're connecting with the deep aspects of who we are. We're realizing that we're not a people of just physicality. Now, it's interestingly enough that we spoke about choshech, and we speak about this concept of the choshech of Yavan. And when we talk about choshech, we talk about or v'choshech. Oh, we don't want choshech, we want or, right? When we speak about anything that's like opposites, yom v'layla, or maybe more like sameach and atzuv, and like all the things that are sort of paradoxes, all the things we look at as problems, yetzer hara, yetzer tov, sheker, and emet, right? Those we think of as problems. So Rabbi Lubinsky mentions this. He says, this is not a problem. Choshech is not a problem. If we didn't have choshech, we wouldn't appreciate the O, right? And when we have choshech, we're able to push away the choshech with the O, with this tremendous light. And so we see that really these opposites that Hashem created are opportunities for us to be able to go and rebuild, to be able to connect with Hashem, to be able to develop ourselves spiritually, right? Because in the greatest time of choshech is the greatest opportunity for all. When does a person grow? Only in their darkness. That's when not only, but mostly in the darkness. What does that mean in the darkness? When they're down, when they don't feel like Hashem is there. Hashem's not listening to me. I don't understand what's going on. I have so many questions. And we don't think he's there, but Sham, Gam Sham Nimtza Hashem, Rabbi Nachman tells us, even there in the darkness, right? Afilu ba'astara, in the place that's most hidden, that's where Hashem is found. So when you're looking at the candle and you're davening and you're asking, we should ask for the Binyan Beit HaMikdash, and we should ask for Hashem to help Klal Yisrael, to have Ahavat Yisrael, to be zocheh to the rebuilding of the Beit HaMikdash, to have the Hashra'ah, the Shechina come down to us. And of course, individually for ourselves, we're going to talk about all the things we daven for. One of the things we daven for, Shemen, is representative of memory. The Shemen Zayit. Zayit helps a person to be able, the Shemen Zayit. Zayit actually causes shechicha, olives cause shechicha, but you should put olive oil on them because olive oil helps a person's memory. And so one of the things when you look at the candle, you should daven, they should have a good memory. So that's representative of that. And also, we have this incredible opportunity of really just connecting with ourselves. What is it that Hashem wants from me? And during this time of Chanuka, we're rededicating ourselves, our neshama, and we each have to ask Hashem to take upon ourselves something that we're asking Hashem to help us to improve, to help us to connect to Him, to help us to be better in, whether it's maybe, having more patience, whether it's maybe not judging others. Maybe today I heard a share about jealousy. The whole concept of this choshech of Yavan created this jealousy also in the world. And this is the weeks that we read about Yosef, and Yosef with the brothers, the whole thing was jealousy, right? And that's what we're here to do on Chanukah, to be mitaken that. To be able maybe to look away and not to look at things and say, I wish I had that and I wish I had that, but also to look at the good, to see what Hashem has given me and thank Hashem for the good, and not just look elsewhere and not look outside. And as we light, we know we light From one, we go up and up and up and up. I don't know if we mentioned this last week. I know I mentioned a little bit of Chanuka, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating. But we are lighting, going up. That's Bet Hillel, right? Why? Because every day we're kindling our neshama more and more until we get to the eighth. The eighth is lemala minateva. Shmone also has the word shemen. Also has the word nasham Hashem, neshama. Right? All this concept of the Shmona, the eight, is lemala minateva. This concept of being able to connect to Hashem on a much higher level. And we are growing in our lighting incrementally more and more because we're trying to connect to Hashem more and more. We're trying to rebuild ourselves more and more. And as we're lighting another candle, another candle, another candle, every night we're adding, there's a new aspect of godliness within us that we are meant to be revealing within ourselves. So as you sit at the candles and you're davening and you're asking and you're thanking, make sure you're thanking because this is a time of gratitude. We say Hallel, Hallel Maleh. Full Hallel, right? Hallel Gamur, we call it also in the Sfardim. Complete Hallel, we say, because this is a tremendous revelation of Hashem's Hashrat Shekhinah in the world. There's Nes Galui. Let's take a look inside of the words so that we don't forget about it, even though I have a lot more to share about Hanukkah, but I want to be able to go into the actual words of the Al Hanissim. So we start off with the words. Can you see the screen? Okay, I hope you can see it. Al Hanissim ve'al hapurkan ve'al hagevurot. Well, we know ve'al Hanissim. First of all, what's this ve'al? Why are we starting with and? Because this is coming right after we say what? Modim anachnu lach. We're skipping to a different part of the Shemona Esrei here, where we're in gratitude to Hashem. We just started. We're in the Shevach part, right? We're in the praise part. The second part is Bakasha, request, and the third part of Shemona Esrei is the Modim, the Hoda'ah, the thanking of Hashem to Hashem of everything that He's given us. And we talk about in the Modim, if you take a look at it, we say. ועל ניסיך שבכל יום עמנו ועל לכלותיך וטובותיך שבכל עת ערב ובוקר וצהריים, all the nisim, all the miracles, all the wonders that Hashem performs for us every single day. So now we're adding ve'al, and also the nisim that Hashem performed for us, we're going to see at the end of this part, is bayamim ahem bazman hazeh, in those days, right? So we're thanking Hashem for which nisim? For the nisim of the redemption. Ve'ala purkan. Purkan is the redemption here, he says. For the redemption, it's also lefarek, from lashon lefarek. When the redemption was being, when the malchut was being destroyed, was being, so to speak, taken apart. When we saw Hashem's revelation, that's called purkan. That's called the redemption, and also the time of breaking away. Lefarek means to break away, because now was when the rulership was broken down. Ve'al hagevurot, and for the mighty deeds. Ve'al teshuot, and for the, it says here, the deliverances, the Yeshua, right? Yeshua is also a form of redemption. Ve'al haniflaot, and for the wonders. Ve'al nechamot, and for the consolations. Ve'al hamilchamot, and for the wars. So we're talking about something that happened during a certain period of time. We're going to get into it in a minute. But we also say this, not only on Chanukah, we also say this on Purim. This first part is mentioned on Chanukah and on Purim. What was going on Chanukah that was similar to Purim? There was a rulership that was trying to destroy us, right? And Chanukah was a spiritual type of rulership that was over us, right? That they were trying to take away our spirituality. And on Chanukah, on Purim, was when they were trying to destroy us physically. Our physical state was being taken apart, where we were supposed to be killed. We were supposed to be annihilated, right? And Hashem had made a miracle, and that didn't seem like it. The whole Megillah is called Megillat Esther, when there was hidden miracles happening. Right? It wasn't clear. There was no clarity that Hashem was taking care of things, but Hashem was already planning everything under the ground, right? So to speak. It says Hashem prepared the Yeshua, the refuah, before the actual the Makkah, right? Which was happening with Haman when he wanted to destroy us. He brought about Esther into the kingdom of of Achashverosh. And through Esther and Mordechai, the redemption was going to come about. So we say this Al Hanissim, and it's similar because it was during the time where they were trying to destroy us spiritually or physically. So we're talking about the niflaot, the miracles that happened then, the nechamot, the milchamot, all the things that were happening during that time period that Hashem performed the miracles for who? For our fathers, Lavotenu, Bayamim Ahem. In those days, the Zman Hazeh, during this time period. And which time period? We're now holding in Chaf Hei Kislev. We're holding in the month that is the darkest month of the year. This is a time when the day is the shortest. It was a time, actually, we're told, interestingly enough, that Chaf Hei Kislev falls out 9 months before Chaf Hei Elul. What happened on Chaf Hei Elul? Chaf Hei Elul was the beginning of the creation of the world, when Hashem started to create the world. Really, I'm telling you something very deep right now. There's a lot to talk about it, but I'm just going to touch upon it. That every year we are being mitchadesh, we are renewing ourselves on Chanuka. Because we know on Rosh Hashanah, we had Yom Adin. On Yom Kippur, we have the day of kapara, of atonement, right? Of slicha and kapara, forgiveness and atonement. And then we're told, Hoshana Rabbah, oh, that's when the petek, the pit katova, we say, right? We should, the notes, the kvitels are being written for what your gzar din is. And guess when they're sent out? When's the last chance? Chanukah. According to the Sifrei Kabbalah, Chanukah is a time for us to sort of complete that din that we were written down for. And it's interestingly enough, it comes out before Asara B'Tevet. Asara B'Tevet comes out right after, 8 days after Chanukah, because that is the beginning of the Puranut, of the destruction of the Jewish people. That was the beginning of the siege that they placed around Yerushalayim, was the beginning of the destruction that led up until, we know, Tish'a B'Av, when the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. But the beginning of it started when they made a siege on the 10th of Tevet, which comes out right after Chanukah. So on Chanukah, we have an opportunity to tap into, we said, the Ruchniyut. On Chanukah, we have an opportunity to be mitchadesh, so that 9 months later, what's 9 months? 9 months is the term of conception, pregnancy, right? 9 months later, baby's born. So we are now, so to speak, building ourselves. We are being conceived, and now we're going to go through the year. What are we going to go with? With the kochot, with the orot, the lights, the ruchnius of Chanukah. There's no coincidence that Chanukah comes out in Kislev and goes into Tevet to bring light into the deepest darkness. Me'at mina'or docher bechoshech, a little bit of light pushes away the darkness. So here we're talking about Bayamim Hahem Bazman Hazeh, because in these days, during this time period, is when we can tap into this greatest light of Ruchnius. And we have that opportunity during Chanukah as we're lighting a menorah, and as we're celebrating, as we're davening, and as we're thanking. We have that opportunity to tap into this greatest light and greatest time of Ruchnius, of Itchadshut, of rededication, of Chanukah, right? Of ourselves, so to speak, of lighting up our neshama, our ner, right? Okay, let's take a look at the words. B'imei Matetyahu ben Yochanan. So this is what we say on Chanukah. I'm just going to skip to show you the next part. B'imei Mordechai ve'Esther b'Shushan Abirah. So this is going to be said on Purim. The first part comes first. Chanukah's first. That's what we're saying today. Now, what's Shat B'imei Matetyahu? What do we have to know about the days of Matetyahu? And he was the son of Yochanan. He was a Kohen Gadol, Chashmonai. Like, there's so many details here. Listen to this beautiful pshat. Mefarshim explain Matetyahu from Lashon tet, latet, to give, right? Also milashon matana, right? Matana, gift. Because Matetyahu was somebody who always saw how Hashem is giving him. He always saw the good. He was a person that appreciated Hashem's giving to him all the time, appreciated the good that was in his life. And who was he? The son of Yochanan. What's Hanan? Right? Hanan, Hanun is merciful. Hanan is like to give, right? A way of giving. And what is he saying here? Matetyahu ben Yochanan, like matnat Chinam, for free, a matana for free. This is who Matityahu was. He was a man who understood that everything Hashem gives me is a gift for free, in a sense. So what is this teaching us? We see that this is who he was. This is how he saw things. He saw things from a positive light. This is what we learn also from him, that we have to see the good in our life and be appreciative of it. Interestingly enough, he's also a Kohen Gadol, a chashiv, a person, Chashmonai, from a very important family, or we could say from a family of Chashmonai. We said, Ubanav, Kshamda Malchut Yavan Haresha'a Alamecha Yisrael. When the kingship of Yavan, the wicked Yavan, stood over your nation Israel, right? Rose, or here it says, rose up against your nation, Alamecha Yisrael. And who are we talking to? We're talking to Hashem. Don't forget, we're still in the Amidah, we're still davening. But here, listen to how we're talking. We're talking directly to Hashem. This kingship of the Malchut Yavan, what did they want to do? Lashkicham Toratecha. They wanted to cause your Torah to be forgotten. Remember what I said before? Lashkicham, to make them forget about the Torah. Right? To take away Shabbos. No, you don't need Shabbos. But what is Shabbos? Shabbos is our connection to Hashem. Shabbos is an ot. It's a covenant between us and Hashem. It's a sign that we're connected, that we're one with Hashem. To make them not remember the chukim. What's the la'aviram here? Look what he says. To make them forget your statutes, to turn them away from your statutes of your will. What are chukim? Chukim are laws that we don't necessarily understand. What do you need them for? They tell us. Why do you have to keep these laws? You don't even understand them. That was their purpose, to try to make us forget the Torah, to try to make us, to distance us from the pnimius of the Torah, from the chukim. And what are the chukim? Those are the things, as I'll tell us, the chukim show our emunah in Hashem. Because we don't need a reason to keep a mitzvah, right? A chok, I keep it because Hashem commanded it. So those are the things that connect us with Hashem. And you, with your great mercy, you stood over them. And look how we're talking to Hashem again. You Hashem. This is our connection with Hashem. Hashem, with your great mercy. You stood for them. You were the one that was there for them. You stood by them in the time of their distress. What did you do for them? Sorry, I'm moving this so much. At their time of their distress, you stood over them and you watched over them. Look how it's saying this. You fought their battle. It wasn't a battle that we went out and we came out and we said, oh yay, we were victorious. What happened with the Chashmonaim? When they came back from war, they understood this was a nes galui. There's no way we could have defeated these people. Don't forget, they were completely moser nefesh. They went out not thinking necessarily they're going to win the war, but they did it l'shem shamayim. So you, Hashem, you fought their battles for them. That's why they were victorious. We're giving credit to Hashem. Lehodot, by the way, also means to acknowledge. We're acknowledging that this is not a miracle of physical means. It's spiritual. But Hashem fought their battle. Danta et dinam. You were the one who judged their judgment, right? You caused that everything should go the way it should go according to the judgment that you thought would be. Nakamta et nikmatam. You took revenge. You avenged their, how does he explain it here? You avenged them, okay? You avenged them. Their nekama, you took it upon yourself. Masarta giborim beyad chalashim. Look how it's talking. You gave over the giborim, the mighty, into the hands of the weak. Isn't that what happened? That chalashim, the weak ones, were the chashmonaim, and the giborim were the yavanim. You gave them over into our hands. This is on a physical means. Verabim beyad me'atim, and there were, many in the hands of few. Who was the few? The chashmonaim, and many was the yavanim. Utmeim, and now we're talking about a different aspect. Because look what it says, the next few. Utmeim, the impure ones, in the hands of the pure. Urashaim, and the wicked ones, biyad tzadikim, in the hands of the righteous. Vezedim beyad oskei toratecha. And those who defiled, the wicked ones, right, are in the hands of those who kept your Torah. This is not a physical, but isn't this the way it's supposed to be? Isn't it supposed to be that tzaddikim are supposed to rule and that that keeping Torah, when we keep the Torah? But here Hashem made it very clear. It wasn't a physical battle only. Remember? It was a spiritual battle. Yes, they fought in war physically, but here what Hashem did for us is that he gave them over into our hands where it might not have been even, it wouldn't be even logical to understand it, right? Only in a sense that Hashem could do this miracle. To do what? What was all this for? Ulecha asita Shem gadol. For Hashem's name to be glorified in the world. And who did this? Again, the credit is not being given to the Chashmonaim. Who did this? You, Hashem. For you, Hashem, you did this, that your name should become great, vekadosh, and holy, be'olamecha, in the world, because everyone clearly saw the nes galui, the open miracle. That's why we light the menorah by the window or outside our doors, because we want everyone to see this was an open, revealed miracle. Let me just mention something here. We see on Chanuka that what do? We play with dreidels, right? What is the dreidel synonymous of? I think I might have mentioned it last week. I don't remember, but it's okay. I'm mentioning it here again for those of you who didn't hear. We take the dreidel and we spin it from the top because we see the hitorut of Hashem, the awakening of Hashem's glory, right? Of Hashem's conducting himself in this world down here, right? The sevivon is being spun on the ground, but it's being spun from the top. This hitorut from lemala. Hashem came and openly, right, performed these miracles for them. That's what we're saying here, so that your name should be glorified in the eyes of everybody in the world, right? Because it was very clear that there's no way such a thing could have happened. This miracle happened. So we do that, right? On Purim, what do? The dreidel is from the top. On Purim, we take a grogger, right, and we play with it on the bottom. And what's the grogger for? We make noise so they don't hear the name of Haman. But really, it's also symbolic. Everything in a physical realm, which is what I said, let's talk about the secrets of Dreidel and the Menorah and the Latkes, because everything in a physical sense is really to connect to our spiritual. The two are not separable, right? They are inseparable. We have to always be connected. The Torah Shebechtav and Torah Sheba'al Peh. We can't take it away. And that's what they try to do. They try to take people and translate the Torah into other languages. That's when they did that. It was also during the month of Tevet. Actually, that's why it's a very dark month. A lot of negative things happen. And they thought, that they're going to have translation of the Torah. Interestingly enough, they took all the Chachamim and they put them in different rooms, and they all made changes to the Torah. The same changes, they all made a Piruach HaKodesh, so that they shouldn't misinterpret the Torah. Like Bereshit bara Elokim, it sounds like creation created God, because they're just learning it on a physical sense, on the surface. They're not learning it with the Mefarshim, with Torah Sheba'al Peh. And you can't learn Torah just reading it. It's not a history book. So Hashem gave them all Ruach HaKodesh. They should change around the words so that it should not look like it's a pikosut. It's like against Hashem. A lot of different changes that they made, and they all made the same changes miraculously when they translated it for them. In any case, what are we talking about? The grogger. So the grogger is Hashem's hitorut from below. Right? The miracle we said came from Esther and Mordechai, right? And it didn't look like Hashem was there. It looked like it was hidden, because the hitorut, the awakening of spirituality, came of the Yeshua, of the miracle, came out from the bottom, from Olam Hazeh, right? And went up. So we see the difference of the top, spinning from the top, the dreidel. Also, dreidel, what's dreidel? Dreidel is drei, I think in Yiddish it means like to drei around, like to wander around, because it's sevivon. It's called a sevivon. It goes from place to place to place to place. It can fall this place. It can fall that place. This is how we are in life. In life, we have the ability to fall down and get up again. And there are different places that we can fall, and different times during our life that we fall and we get up. And Hashem spins us, so to speak, again, right? Spinning it again, and we're trying again to get that gimel, the gimel is gadol, right? We're always trying to be connected. We're always trying to get the most out of what we're going through. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us that we're like the dreidel. You can fall down and you get up. Sheva yipol tzadik v'kam. And there's always things in our lives that we fall and we get up. We fall and we get up. That's the koach of Am Yisrael. We're here to tell the tale. We're lighting the menorah. I just heard an amazing story. If you've seen this famous article of the menorah that was lit, excuse me, in Auschwitz, I believe it was, in Germany. And in the back of the menorah, you see a swastika, the symbol for the Nazis. And this is a symbol for us of victory today, because look, we have our menorah till today, right? That not hundreds, but so many years after, they wanted to annihilate us. We're here, they're not. And look what just happened. There was a story that we're told that I just was in the news, I think it was, that they were trying to. I think the head of the German government, maybe it's the prime minister, I'm not sure. I have to read the article again. I was reading it quickly, but he invited the person who owned that picture. I don't know if it's the actual survivor, if it was his son. Somebody can write in the chat and maybe let us know if you read the article. But basically, they invited them back to this menorah is existent today. They have it in, I think, Yad Vashem. They took it out to relight it, and they invited them to Germany. This is now the Goy, the head prime minister in Germany, is inviting this Holocaust survivor to come light the menorah in Germany. And there's a picture of him lighting together with his family member and either the prime minister or some other government official lighting with them. And what more do we need to show us the victory, right? A family member owns it near Haifa, because that's who went to light it. So the victory that the Jews are still here. We're still here. We still have these miracles that Hashem is performing for us every single day. Every day. And look today that we can say, Am Yisrael Chai, we're here to tell the tale. And all the things that they wanted to do, no, we still have our Torah. We still have the spirituality. We can't disconnect from Rosh Chodesh, which is Rosh Chodesh is when we set the month. That's when all the holidays are based on the month, are based on the moon, right? And we have still Brit Milah. Brit Milah is our bodies. Even our bodies, we dedicate to Hashem. We make a covenant with Hashem. We're keeping the spirituality aspect. It's not just our body. Our body is connected to our neshama, right? These are the things they try to take away from us. And just a few years ago, they were trying to fight the laws of Brit Milah in America. They shouldn't do Brit Milah, and there was government officials trying to fight it because they said supposedly it was not legal, whatever they were claiming. So we see that they can't take it away from us, because you can't separate Am Yisrael from the Torah. You can't separate the Ruchnius from the Gashmius. You can't separate the Guf from the Neshama. You can't, right? Now, interestingly enough, and the letters on the Dreidel, I'm mentioning it here because we brought it up, is Nun Gimel Hey Shin. In exile, we say Nes Gadol Haya Sham. And the Otiyot Nun Gimel Hey Shin equals 300, I think, 358. What is that symbolic of? That's symbolic of the gematria of Mashiach. Nun Gimel, 358 equals the gematria of Mashiach. That by spinning the dreidel, right? By spinning the sevivon, we are testifying that we are still going to be here, and that Mashiach is going to redeem us. Nun Gimel Heshin. What were they doing? They were playing with it so that they wouldn't know that they were learning Torah. But we're still ma'amin. The Mashiach is going to come. We still have emunah, right? We're lighting the menorah. We lit menorahs. There was this video going around last year. I didn't get to see it this year, of somebody who had a menorah that was folded, and like you unfolded it, and they were able to have a beautiful menorah. And it was from the time of the Holocaust. I forgot what they made. There's also another thing going around with this potato, right? That they lit the potato. No matter what they try to do to us, we're still going to keep our mitzvahs. We're still going to be connected to you, Hashem. They're not going to take away my emunah. Lashkicham Toratecha, they were not successful in making us forget our Torah. We can't forget our Torah. Torah is our chiyut. It's our life force to be able to go on. Since we're talking about the Dreidel, let's talk about and by the way, when we talk about Mashiach, the Ora Ganuz, in the Ora Ganuz is the light of Mashiach, that we're bringing the light from above into this world, right? We're spinning it from the top. We're bringing Hashem's Shekhinah to be Sharoi in this world. And let's talk about the Sufganiyot. Sufganiyot, why do we eat Sufganiyot? It's like beautiful, nice. I eat Sufganiyot. It's sweet. It's an oil, right? You're going to say it's representative of the oil. That's true. It is representative of oil. That because the miracle happened with the oil, so we fry things in oil. And the father of the Rambam, who happened to be a doctor and all into health, said that you shouldn't minimize in this mitzvah. That's very, very important to keep this mitzvah, to fry things in the oil and to keep the minhag of Am Yisrael, because the oil is representative of what? Again, the higher soul, right? That we're connected. The shemen is the neshama. It's our neshama. It's who we are. But more than that, Sufganiyot usually have jelly inside. Sometimes you open it, doesn't have so much jelly. Now they're putting things on top. They're all fancy Sufganiyot. But this is the inner. The inner, we open it, we eat the outside to get to the inner. The inner concealment of the divine is encased within the physical. This is what, Chanuka is all about. That there's an inner concealment of Hashem's divinity in the world that now has to be revealed, has to be open. And it's within the physical part of our world. Isn't that what Hanukkah is all about? Even the eating is not just for the guf. Here it is. Spiritually, we're connected. And the latkes also, they're fried in oil. The oil is embedded in the potatoes, like oil of our neshama that we're lighting with, right? The oil is representative of the ruchnius inside the physical. So these are not some symbolic customs, but they're really deep and profound. They're really for us to connect to them on a spiritual realm. We eat them, but the whole reason we're eating them is to connect to it on a spiritual realm. So we have to draw this divine light into ourselves, into our families, and then into the outside world. That's what Hashem wants. That's why Hanukkah is such a popular holiday. It's like one holiday that people who are totally secular, that they keep, because there's so much connection between our physical and our spiritual, and how important that is when we're enjoying from the Latkes Sufganiyot. See this, understand this, talk about this with your family and teach it to them. Let's get back to the Hanissim because I want to try to finish it. We have time. What did I do? 1 second. That's what I wanted. Here we go. So we're up to Ulecha. Is this where we're up to? Yeah, Ulecha asit Hashem gadol v'kadosh be'olamecha. Hashem made His name great in the world by allowing us to be victorious, right? Uleamecha Yisrael, not only in the world but for your nation, Yisrael. Asita teshua gdola, you caused a great salvation, ufurkan, and redemption kehayom hazeh, like this day. V'achar kach ba'u vanecha litvir beitecha. And then we're told, your children came into your devir betecha, into the holiest place of your home. And what did they do? Finu etechalecha. They were mefaneh. Let's see how he translates here. They took away, your sons entered your holy of holies, your abode, cleaned your temple, purified your sanctuary, and kindled lights. Vehidliku, right? Ne'ot bechatzrot kodshecha. What was the miracle here? The miracle was that they were able to recapture, so to speak, right? And rededicate the Bet HaMikdash. Not only was it just fighting them and, being able to be victorious, but the whole purpose they went out to war is to rededicate the Bet HaMikdash, because that is the symbol of the ruchnius of Klal Yisrael. That's our home. That's our bayit. That's where we brought korbanot. Right? We spoke about the Shemona Esrei is all connected with the Beit HaMikdash. We're entering into the Beit HaMikdash as we're entering into the Amidah. And here we're mentioning this is what this family of Chashmonaim, they did. They went into the holiest places, Vir Beitecha, of your home. Ufinu et Echalecha, and they removed all the Tum'ah from your Heichal, from your sanctuary. V'tiheru et Mikdashecha, and they were able to be Metaher. That is the greatest miracle, that they were able to actually purify the Beit HaMikdash. Now you might think it's just very easy, but like it wasn't just like doing some sponja. You know what I mean? There was a lot of things that were defiled. They brought avodah zarah into the Beit HaMikdash. They brought a non-kosher animal into the Beit HaMikdash, the Yevanim. And look what they did. They were able to go and purify that which was defiled and to light. V'hidliku nerot bechatzot kodshecha. Where did they light the lights? Bechatzot kodshecha. That's interesting. In the chatzer, outside, right? How does he translate here? The courtyards of your sanctuary. Bechatzot kodshecha. Well, what happened? Why is it in the chatzer? Why isn't it inside? Well, guess what? They weren't able to clean out and to purify all the tameh, all the things that were defiled so quickly. So they were able in that time, until they cleaned up shop, to light the menorah outside. That was horat sha'ah at that time. That's what they needed to do. All right, but that's what look how they ran to do this mitzvah and to even look for the Hashem in this place of tum'ah and chaos that was there. And then they kav'u shmonat yemei Chanuka elu. And they set this time of the 8 days of Chanuka, lehodot ulehalel, to praise and to how does he say? Lehodot is really to give thanks and to praise. I'm almost sure. Let's see how we translate it. To thank and to praise. Lehodot is to acknowledge, to thank and to praise. And why these two? Why didn't you just say, lehodot, to thank? And by the way, the whole reason this is written here is because this is concept of thanking. That's what we're doing here, and it's in the modim for a reason. And if you don't say al Hanissim, by the way, in the modim, after you say the bracha, this bracha at the end of the modim, Atov Shimcha Ulecha Na'el Odot, if you said already Hashem's name, Baruch Atah Hashem, you don't go back. If you'd like, you could say in the private tefillah, but there's no reason, you don't have to go back. If you don't say Hashem's name, you can go back and actually say this here. So what were they doing? The whole thing is lehodot to thank Hashem for performing the open miracle in the war that they were fighting. Ulehalel, and to praise Hashem for being able to give them the shemen, to light and to rededicate the Mishkan, the Mikdash, right? L'shimcha gadol, for your great name. Who did they do it for? They didn't do it for themselves. What's selfish motives here? They did it to make Hashem's name glorified in the world. Okay? What happened to the other? I wanted to just say, give me 1 second. Yeah, so this is what we're talking about. This is what we're saying, that the whole concept of them being able to rededicate the Mikdash and to do all this is to make Hashem's name great, to make a Kiddush Hashem. Not to show that they themselves were great, but to make a Kiddush Shem Shamayim, right? And they did this for who? They did this La'amecha Yisrael. They caused a Teshu'ah Gedolah. They caused a great salvation because it was so clear that Hashem made the Geulah, made the Yeshu'ah for them. And Hashem is involved. And you know what Hanukkah is all about? Is noticing the Hashgacha Pratit that Hashem does for us. Do we notice, do we understand all the miracles that Hashem does for us on a daily basis? Hashem is constantly doing things for us. Are we grateful? Are we saying thank you? We get together every day, we say Nishmat Kol Chai, and we say Mizmor Todah 8 times. 8 is Lamala Min HaTeva. We speak about it, right? We're speaking about it with Hanukkah. And there's a group of us already for a couple of years that are getting together and we're saying it together. And really, It's so special because really, what does it cause you to do? It causes you to stop and to thank Hashem for the little things that are happening in your everyday life. Hanukkah is that opportunity. We have a time to sit by the nerot, to make and recount all the blessings, all the good, all the shefa that Hashem has given me. Thank you, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem, for this. Thank you, Hashem, for that, for my health, for my children's health, for the ability to do laundry, for the ability to cook, for the ability, whatever it is that Hashem is doing for you. Every day we have small miracles, but they're not really so small. Not only are they really not so small, we don't always see that they're miraculous. Let me tell you a quick story. There's a story that Rav Pinkus tells over how we don't always see the miracles that Hashem performs for us. We don't always see that Hashem is doing miracles for us. And we have to look out. We have to look out with bright eyes, right? With open eyes to see how much Hashem is doing for me personally. And we're going to be having Bezrat Hashem a thank you Hashem party tomorrow. Thanking Hashem publicly. People are going to be speaking about their miracles. Please, you're welcome to join us if you're here or near Ramat Bet Shemesh. And we see that really it's so important after something happens to you to thank Hashem, to be grateful to Hashem, and to say it publicly. It's not enough just to thank Him, but even publicly. And there's so many times that things happen to us and we don't realize. This is a great story. By Yamim Hahem Bazman Hazeh. Remember we mentioned that not just the Hanissim back then, but the Hanissim that happened for me today. That's what we're thanking Hashem for. So Rav Pinkus says that there's a doctor. He's a from doctor today in Monsey, but he tells over a story that he wasn't from always. And he worked in, I believe, maybe it was, I'm not sure if it was Los Angeles or Miami, somewhere outside of the New York area. And he was working in the emergency room, and they were trying to resuscitate a patient that came in. They were really trying to work on him. And unfortunately, they weren't able to, and they declared him, dead. So he noticed right after that, they put a sheet over the body. It's in the emergency room before they remove it. So he noticed that there was a little bit of movement. So he went over to the bed where the person was laying, and he takes off the cover, and he's about to try to resuscitate him, or maybe even try to resuscitate him. And when he uncovered him, this person obviously was alive. He looked at him and he asked him, "Are you Chaim Meir?" And that was his Hebrew name, but nobody knew him by that name. They knew him by his English name. And he was like, what? He says, "Do you put on tefillin?" And he was like, "What? Do you keep kashrus?" And I don't know if he asked him, maybe, "Do you keep Shabbos?" And then the person closed their eyes, and then he passed away. And now you would think such a thing happened. It's like, wake up call. You would think that this doctor seeing such a thing happening and the person talking to you in your name being said out loud, like who, how does he know my name? That it would move him, that it would do something to him, that it would stir him to do tshuva. But guess what? He wasn't choser b'tshuva then. Only years later, working in Monsey, together with, I guess, some Jewish patients, and I don't know how he became from, but at the end he was choser b'tshuva. But he didn't get the message. And this was obviously a very clear message that was meant directly for him. Rav Pinkus says there's so many times that Hashem performs open miracles for us so clearly, but we don't see it. But we don't look, and we don't think it's a miracle. We don't think it, you don't even notice it. How many times, you're crossing the road, chas v'shalom, or like I see this when I'm driving, oh my gosh, that car just missed that person. They were crossing the road, or they weren't looking and they crossed and they made it. And I remember driving, and there was a car that came and was turning left, and I was in this lane, and I was going pretty fast, and I'm like, I was just like, right after that, I'm like, thank you, Hashem. But how many times do these things happen and we miss it, and we just don't notice it, and we don't realize that Hashem actually performed a nest for us? So when we say Modim anachnu lach, first of all, we're bowing, we're humbling ourselves, we're recognizing, Hashem, you do so much for me. Every day we're saying, all the miracles Hashem does for me every single day. And we say, Erev, Aboker, Vatzoraim, and we recount. And he says on Chanuka is a time for us maybe to sit and reflect upon what are the miracles that Hashem is doing for me? What is going on? Why is Hashem, what did Hashem do for me? And to maybe make a list and to reflect upon it, and every night to add more and more of the thank yous And to make this a habit, there are some people that started a gratitude journal, and every day they were recounting miracles, small things, even that my cake came out of the oven and it was Baruch Hashem, it came out great. Thank you, Hashem. Gratitude to Hashem. But of course, there are many other things that we can go through, our health and parnassa and all these things that happen in our daily life that we are so often we look at things and we say, oh, I don't have this and I don't have to. Please, Hashem, give me, please, 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 please. And we have a whole list. Where's our thank you list, right? We have to have a thank you list. And Rapikas goes on to say there's so many things that happen in our lives that we take it for granted, like sound waves, like even the ability to hear. When you all of a sudden go next to an older person and they either need a hearing aid or they don't wear a hearing aid and you have to scream and raise your voice, do you realize it's a miracle that you're able to hear sound waves? Today we can speak to somebody across the world, and we're able to connect with one another. Hashem is constantly supplying us with Nissim every single day, and Chanuka is a time to look at the candles and thank Hashem for those Nissim. There are so many things that we need, but there's so many things that we have, and this is the time for us to reflect upon it. It says that we have to, there are a lot of languages that we say, lehodot, le'alel. We're constantly talking about this. Why? Because there's so much shevach we have to say to Hashem. So much praise, Hashem, I have to say to you. Who are we named after? We're named after Yehuda. We're Yehudim. Yehuda because Leah, she says, apam ode et Hashem. Hashem gave her more than a portion when he gave her a fourth child. And she therefore thanked Hashem. And she said, thank you, Hashem, right, for giving me more than my portion. And Baruch Hashem, she was Zocha to have Yehuda. And who are we named after? We're not named after Reuven. We're not named after Shimon. We're not named after Levi. We're named after Yehuda because she had more than she deserved, so to speak. And then she said, oh, thank you, Hashem. And she recognized that. And we are Yehudim. And we have to be modeh. We have to be modeh. We have to acknowledge. And we have to thank. And we have to be praising Hashem, for the little things and the biggest things. Le'ah, interestingly enough, what's the gematria of Le'ah? Lamed is 30, Hey is 5, and Aleph is 1, and Hey is 5, 36. Le'ah is also 36. Remember I told you before, 36, I knew it connected to something else. And there's another thing that's also 36. 36 is also the gematria of Levad. Levad. Chanukah is a time that we feel today. Rabbanit Yemima spoke about it, or maybe it was yesterday. Yesterday was davening for children. Today it's 4 candles, the zchut of Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. If you want the segulot, I think I sent it out to the group, the tefillah group. If you want the segulot of every night, you can send me a text and I'll send it to you. Today we daven the zchut of the imahot, so we mentioned Leah. But we see the 36 is also the gematria of Levad. What does that have to do with anything? It's also the gematria of the word Ayeka. Ayeka, where are you? On Chanuka. There's a lot more I could say. This could be a whole shiur, but I'm going to mention it briefly. Maybe we'll have another shiur on this. On Chanuka is a time when we're supposed to be asking ourselves, where am I? Where am I, my avodas Hashem? Where am I? Am I connecting to Hashem? Am I wanting to grow in my ruchnius? Am I wanting to grow and be connected to something that's deeper than just what I'm doing on a daily basis? Listening to a shiur? Am I working on my tefillah? Baruch Hashem, you all ladies in my group are davening and are putting emphasis on your tefillah even more now by focusing on the tefillah and understanding the meaning behind the tefillah and connecting to it in a different realm. We all should do this. Take a certain tefillah and dedicate yourself to learn about it and to have more kavanah in that specific tefillah. A bracha that you say, you always say, Shehakol niyah bidvaro. Do you think about it? Do you think about Baruch Atah Hashem? What are you saying when you're saying Baruch Atah Hashem? Hashem, you are the source of all blessing. Not just blessed are you, Hashem, right? Connecting to the things that we already are doing. Ayeka. Ask ourselves. Like Hashem asked Adam Arishon, where are you after he sinned? What was the purpose of that? He didn't know where he was? No. That's the time when Adam was supposed to be doing tshuva. Hashem is trying to stir him to do tshuva. Where are you? What are you doing? Do you realize what you just did? Levad. This is a time, Rabbanit Yemima was saying, that during Chagim is when a time that we feel levad. Everybody has that levad feeling. Everyone has that, pinch inside their heart that sometimes they feel alone. And sometimes it's a reality for a lot of people, right? A lot of older singles, Bezrat Hashem, the zchut of Chanukah, they should find their zivug agun bekarov, Bezrat Hashem. For all the people who need zivugim and shidduchim, what about people who are divorced, almanot, widows, orphans? There's so many people that are levad, right? And they feel that. But yes, also if you're married and if you have children, you can sometimes feel that levad feeling. But you know what it's supposed to get you to al Chanuka? You're not levad. Because the one that is levad is the ein od milvado. We're supposed to connect to the ein od milvado, that we have Hashem. And the gematria of that also is the name of the Shem Hashem together with the Milui. 26, Havaya. That we are connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and that you're not alone. Look what Hashem did. He performed miracles for them. He can perform miracles for you. Each one of you. Hashem wants to give us miracles. We have to expect miracles. We have to ask for miracles. This is a time when miracles are mesugat to be happening. Let us believe it. Let us connect to it. Another thing we're told, it says we light a candle until that there's nobody like walking, stepping foot in the shuk. Those are otiyot. Ad shetechale regel is otiyot sha'ar. Rashi tevot sha'ar. Sha'ar is gates. By lighting the candles, we're opening the gates. We're opening the gates. Let us ask. We spoke about tefillah. We need to be able to ask. There are gates in Shemayim that our brachos are suspended in. And if we don't ask, if we don't utilize the koch of tefillah, then Hashem won't give it to us. This is a time to connect to that. Also, it's a time during the candle lighting to daven for refuah. We spoke about the shemen. It's connected to memory. This also concept of we light the menorah below. It's as if Hashem is coming to do bikur cholim. Hashem is coming to visit us. We daven for refuah, for yeshuah. They say when you have oil left over from the menorah at the end of lighting, you shouldn't throw it out. You should save it in mesugal, to put it in certain places to give you a healing. There's a koach in it. Some people already saved oil in their sukkah, so it has the kedusha of Sukkot, and you light it in during Chanuka. They also save, I think they save wine and kemach. There's different things that people save, and they, as a kedusha of the sukkah to be melaveh, to escort them into the chag. It's also a refuah. When you look at the candles, a refuah for the eyes, also to teach us not to look at negative things, to look at things that are good, to look at things that are ruchnius, to look at things that are tahara. Re'iyah, looking, gazing, also otiyot yir'ah, to help us through our re'iyah. We're being metaken, we're fixing our yirat shamayim, right? To fix our perspective, to fix the way we look at things, right? Not to be jealous of others. This is what we're working on, we said, during this time, especially during the weeks when we're talking about Yosef and his brothers being mekaneh from one another. To look with a positive eye at people, to look at things b'kedusha, not to look at things b'tum'ah, and to bring and elevate things to kedusha. It says that our neshamot are illuminated, so to speak, and that's bringing us closer to Hashem when we're looking at the candles. The light of the candles is the light of the Torah. Remember, we said they want to take away our Torah. We have to look at the candles, look at the flames, and see, so to speak, ourselves in that flame, and see how we can dedicate ourselves and rededicate ourselves more to Torah, more to mitzvot labriyut, more to ma'asim tovim. And it says that this light is shining. Where is it shining? It's shining in our homes or right outside our homes. That this light, the purification and the tahara of this light should light and emanate into our lives, into our homes, and also seep out into the world. We want that whatever we're doing on Chanukah should not only stay here, it should be reflected out into the world, and we should bring Kedusha into the world. And we should see how Hashem is saving and protecting us. That we spoke about. So much to share. These are days that are not days of teva. They're not days of nature. They're lemala min teva. That's why we light the eighth day, Zot Chanukah. Maybe we'll have a separate cheer on that. That day is like a mini Yom Kippur. That day you should really, really be spending more time davening, more reflection of self-reflection, connecting with the Ora Ganuz. It's the eighth, it's the peak, it's the highest, it's lemala min teva. There are great nisim that could happen on Zot Chanukah. It's a skula. I'll mention it now, that you should write a petek, and you should ask for things on the petek, and you should place it underneath the menorah before you light it. And then when you put away your menorah, and you clean it up and put it away after the eighth day, which I always hate doing, right? You want to keep it out, you want to preserve that ruchnius, but the ruchnius stays within us. Remember, we're lighting as if we're lighting ourselves. So you take that petik and you place it with your menorah and you put it away. And the next year, take it out. And you will see, Bezrat Hashem, that your tefillot are going to be answered, that you will have Yeshuot, that you will have Besorot Tovot. I did this actually. Baruch Hashem, I wrote more than one thing. I'm like, no, if I'm going to ask, I'm asking. So I had asked, to be here in Eretz HaKodesh. Baruch Hashem, I'm married. Baruch Hashem, I was zochet to get married, remarried. And I asked for my children to be here with me. All these things were answered, Baruch Hashem, and I was so blessed, and I of course I thanked Hashem. And to remember to publicize the miracle, to publicize the ness. Once it happens, once you have Yeshua, thank Hashem publicly. So you are coming tomorrow, we'll hear a little more of my story. And this is the koach, the zman merapeh, that this time period is a time of really helping us to heal ourselves. It helps us with the memory. Remember the shichacha, to not to forget. So that's the concept of the oil, and try to preserve that oil, and really to be able to connect to what we said before. It's a time of itchadshut. Remember we said that 9 months after Chaf Hei Kislev is Chaf Hei Elul. It's a time of renewal. We're renewing ourselves. We're rededicating ourselves. And this is the challenge. Really, the challenge is not to sink into the physicality and not to think, no, Hashem, he's not looking at me. He's not thinking about me. He doesn't care about me. I'm sitting here alone. I'm lighting my menorah. What does anybody care? No. Connect to the spiritual aspect. Connect to the simcha. Don't view the darkness as a darkness in and of itself. The darkness is in order to get you up higher, to raise you up to the light, right? The light of the ruchnius, the light of the connection of the ner. The ner is nefesh, ruach, the connection, my connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And let us lehodot u'lehalel, praise Hashem, thank Hashem. Every time you pass by the menorah, I forgot who said, maybe the Kedushas HaLevi, you should say something. You should say a tefillah. Every time you pass by, not only the half hour, you went to get the latkes, you prepared the meal, whatever you did, you came by the menorah, again, ask for something, praise Hashem for something. Great time we're living in, with great opportunities. Thank you so much for joining me today. Bezrat Hashem, hopefully our tefillah shiur will continue next week with the continuation of Amidah. It is the 6th shiur, and Bezrat Hashem, I would like to continue. If you ladies would like to continue as well, please be in touch with me. And so we'll continue with the Amidah if that's something that everybody wants. And I want to wish each one of you, Bezrat Hashem, that you should be zocheh to see great Yeshuot, Nisim, during this time, during this time, in the same time that there was tremendous Nisim happening for the Chashmonaim. Hashem should make miracles in your life, and you should see the Yad Hashem, and you should thank Him, and you should publicize the miracles that are happening to you, because you're going to give chizuk to so many others. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we should be zocheh to see great Nisim for Am Yisrael. We should be zocheh to see Mashiach Tzidkeinu. This is Chanuka, Be'ezrat Hashem, and the revelation of the good in the world, with our tremendous Ahavat Yisrael, with our tremendous tefillas, with our belief, with our emunah, with our ahava, with our simcha, with our todah Hashem. Realize that this is all, the darkness is in order for the revelation of the good and the light, right? And realize that whatever it is that you're going through, whatever challenges you have in your life, that Hashem really loves you and He cares about you, each and every one of us. And this tremendous hashgacha pratit happening to you personally. And we just have to look for it. And Bezrat Hashem, we should be zocheh to have the Yeshua coming. Menorah b'yameinu, with Mashiach Tzidkeinu, Binyan Beit HaMikdash, Menorah b'yameinu, Amen. Thank you so much, ladies. If you have any questions, you want to put in the chat, or you feel free to unmute yourself. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thank you. Thank you for the comments. I appreciate it. Bezrat Hashem, Yeshuot, Besorot Tovot for everyone. Chanuka Sameach.